We concluded the quarterfinal portion of ESO Pro League Season 20 today. We had our last two remaining matchups, the much anticipated rematch between NAVI and Team Spirit, and G2 taking on Team Liquid. Team Spirit failed to live up to their group stage success, running out of momentum at the worst possible time. NAVI handed them a concise 0-2 defeat. JL at the helm looking excellent, taunting, calling out Team Spirit during and after the match, all while securing that semi-final matchup they really want on their continued run of dominance. And then Team Liquid and G2 traded knockout blow after knockout blow, going 3 maps of consistent blowout Counter-Strike before G2 emerged victorious. M0nesy setting a statement to the Donk and ZywOo fans to let them know that this Player of the Year debate is by no means over and that he deserves to be represented in that conversation 100%. So as usual, there is a lot to get into, so let's not waste any more time and get the usual pomp and circumstance out of the way. My name is LionHeartZ, welcome back to the channel, and before we get started, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm, and thank you for doing it. With that out of the way, let's talk about our first matchup of the day, rhyming accidentally. Alright, so going into NAVI taking on Spirit, I was definitely hoping for an absolute grudge match, a 3-map brawl, Donk getting 500 kills, taking on NAVI single-handedly. Instead, what we ended up getting was NAVI absolutely neutralizing Spirit and making them look silly on both maps. It was 13-5 on Dust 2, 13-9 on Mirage. And what we're going to zero on very specifically is just how anemic Spirit's T-sides can look when their 1A plan doesn't work, which is definitely my biggest criticism of Chomper as an IGL so far. While it definitely feels simplistic and dismissive sometimes to just look at Spirit and be like, okay, they are relying on Donk go kill or Shiro go kill, that is absolutely what they look like sometimes. And what I noticed here both on Dust 2 and Mirage was how often their plays on the T side relied on their ability to just get contact plays and take picks. And listen, that's not necessarily a bad strategy, but when the contact goes wrong, it feels like Spirit are very unmovable. They don't have a whole lot of depth to their mid-rounding, they oftentimes just recommit through to see if they can make a miracle happen. Like here on round 5, where they're going to work their long A control, they're going to use an insane amount of utility just to get long A control and start working towards Car. Zontix is lurking around mid, he's going to get the pick on Bit and then be traded out by Emma, equalizing the advantage at 4-4, but hey, trades tend to favor the T side, and now they're trying to make the cross to A side. The cross smokes in, they throw a smoke deep cat towards Gandalf, but the problem is NAVI knows they're all in on this A push and they've overcommitted all of their utility and they're getting stuck trying to cross. Only Donk and Magix make it, and Wonderful manages to take care of Magix, leaving Donk on an island on Goose by himself, and at that point things start to fall apart. The rest of Spirit can't make the cross, there's too much going on, and they get picked off in turn, leaving Donk in a 1v3, and you know Donk nearly wins the round because he's Donk. But if we rewind to just before Zontic goes down, look at how much utility they've expended and they haven't even begun to try and cross to the site. Zontix is holding 2 of their remaining 3 flashes, and after he goes down and cuts off the ability to pinch through Cat, they're essentially isolated on long A, 4 of them, with all of their smokes already deployed and starting to fade, with just 1 Molotov, a flash, and a Dream. That's not enough utility to get past the NAVI defense. That's not enough flashing to enable the cross, not enough Molotovs to burn out common angles, so they have to take the one-on-ones, and they simply don't win them. We can see a better representation of what I mean here in the very next round, where Spirit are buying down everything they got, so they're already low on resources to begin with, so things are already going to be strained when you consider that NAVI are full bot and very secure. Donk's going to go down to a bad timing moment crossing mid to Bit, so Spirit go down 4v5 having gained nothing. And unfortunately, because of that, those already limited resources get strained even further, and eventually it comes down to 2 flashes and a Dream, and they need to win the contact swing out of Cat. They have nothing left to manufacture any kind of map control, and they're starting to run low on time, so if anyone gets stalled here on the push to A site, the round is basically over. And yeah, Magix gets both these picks, but if they get stopped at Gandalf whatsoever, if Magix even just gets 1 and gets traded out, that's an entirely different round. But instead, the contact goes their way, they get the 2 picks, and they're able to secure the round and get on the board. Outside of this 3-round run from Spirit, NAVI dominated their CT side and cruised on to the victory. Overall, even though Donk and Shiro didn't necessarily play bad, they weren't able to find their true effectiveness because NAVI were just a brick wall. Both Bit and JL were out of their minds on the CT side. JL continued that momentum on the all too short T side, and Alexi B is of course the far better in-game leader, which let NAVI take the early 1-0 series lead. As we head to the playground of Alexi B, Mirage. First things first, let's give J Legend his credit here. He was dominant in this series and went for 27 kills on Mirage, including this nice play on the second half pistol round where Spirit are setting up for the classic A hit. Donk is going to lead the way as the smokes come in, and as he starts to push, he'll molly triple box. Bit has no idea what just hit him, goes down in short order. The smokes are down, they get blown open. JL with the crispy flick. Emma finds Zontix through the smoke. JL finds one more as well onto Shiro, leaving Spirit in a 2v4 situation. They are going to be able to get the bomb down. JL is going to regroup with his teammates going through CT. The flash comes in to push them through, and they're going to take the swing on the remaining two players. JL taking one more for himself. 3 crispy headshots, end the round for NAVI. Now we're going to flash ahead a handful of rounds here to talk a little bit more about these T-side struggles for Spirit, because one thing that I think is pretty obvious is that Spirit do play a very volatile game here. They're going to work their way towards B. Donk is going to lead the charge straight into the underpass, and he's going to get off pretty lucky here. Wonderful jumps down for the op shot, legs him, but Donk gets the trade and the opening pick. If Donk goes down here, it feels like Spirit have really nothing else to do in this round because they're bot down to 0. They don't have enough utility to work this round very long. They need to take advantage where they can, and if Donk just dies in the beginning of the round, that's going to gut their entire offense. Thankfully, the contacts go their way, like Chopper getting the lucky timing on Emma on top mid, putting them into a 5v3 situation. But all of this is to say that there's a larger symptomatic problem with what they do on offense generally, where if these picks aren't going their way, what do they do? To some extent, you have to push, you have to take map control. That's just how you play Counter-Strike. But it feels like Spirit, more than any other team on their level, you know, they're a top 4, top 3 team in the world, they seem to have the most shallow bag. And when Donk and Shiro aren't out of this world, you see the holes in their game. And NAVI are a team that right now seem to have little to no holes in their game by contrast. And that's why NAVI dominated the series. Moving on to our other series for the day, we had G2 taking on Team Liquid, and man, this was a weird series, because it's not very often that you see a series go to 3 maps where all 3 games were blowouts. Literally, we went 13-3 on Inferno to G2, went 13-5 on Mirage to Team Liquid, and then ended with 13-3 on Nuke for G2 to take the series. It's just not often you see that happen, but if nothing else, it made for some pretty entertaining Counter-Strike. Sticking to broad strokes for a second, this series 100% was the M0nesy series. He was monstrous on both of G2's wins, and alongside Bubblesj was pretty much the only thing going right for them on Mirage. And it was definitely dope to see play out, because ever since G2 have reformed this lineup with Bubblesj and Snacks, we ended up seeing a lot of big moments from Nico, Hunter, Bubblesj. But M0nesy, who on the previous lineup was playing out of his mind, best player in the world type shit, he was failing to find that form once again. This is definitely one of those series where M0nesy reminded everybody that, like, listen, no, it's not just Donk and ZywOo, I'm right there in contention for the best player this year. For Team Liquid, this run at EPL definitely had a lot of good aspects to it, and even here there were definitely signs of the potential within this lineup. Obviously, Ultimate's continued impact, Twist maintaining his form right at the forefront of those good things. But one thing I think we're definitely going to look back on and Team Liquid need to work on themselves is their depth on the T side. The theme of this video so far is that you need to have a good plan B when plan A doesn't work out, and on their losses, Team Liquid straight up looked like they didn't have a playbook deep enough to try and find something to get some momentum on their side. Like here on round 4 on Inferno, where Ultimate's going to pretty much give them exactly what they want on the opening. He's going to take the first pick on Bubblesj, they're going to work some utility before Nico swings, gets the revenge kill on Yukindar, before Twist trades them out, leaving them in a 4v3 with a lot of map control. And at this point, I think Liquid are right to slow it down. They don't have the bomb, 2 of their players are spread out towards A. My only issue is I think they take too long. In fact, here, I'm going to use this to try and illustrate my point better. We're over here on refrag.gg, where they have a helpful demo viewer where you can upload any demo file and you get this nice overhead view of what happens in your matches, or in this case, the pro match in front of us. By the way, I do have a Refrag discount code. It's Lion15, and you could use it at checkout if you want to use Refrag for yourself. Thank you to them for helping out with this video. Now, here's the thing, right? Look at Team Liquid's perspective here. They've just gotten 2 picks, they have the man advantage, and they know that G2 are in a tricky position, because now G2 have to decide, do they send another player B, or do they stay here on A and have their defense set up here? Because they don't have apartments control, they don't know if NAV could be in here or somebody's in mid like JKS, they have to play back towards the site, and they have to hedge their bets. Is Liquid going to go A, or are they going to go B? And here's the thing, Liquid unfortunately fall victim to one simple error, and that's the bomb being downstairs. If the bomb was up here at the top of ramp or whatever, or maybe on the back of JKS or Ultimate, I think it's pretty clear that Liquid would want to just go straight into B, because getting these 2 early B picks means that there really isn't time for someone like M0nesy to rotate over and bolster the defense. They would have just Hunter on his lonesome. If they take Hunter, you get the site, you plant, and it's pretty much GG on the spot. Instead, Liquid have to back up and play some time because they know they don't necessarily have that advantage to run straight into B. The smoke is up, which inhibits them a little bit further, so now they have to try and work some control elsewhere. JKS and NAV are still in great position, M0nesy is tucked over here at the top of Arch, and Snax is down in the lane. Twist is going to throw the first CT smoke to try and see if they can bait out that rotate so they can start working towards A. They're going to leave Ultimate here as a lurk to keep Hunter honest and on the B side, and they're going to retool and head towards A. My only other gripe with how this round plays out is I think Liquid were just a little bit too slow. They left themselves very low on time at this point. We're getting below 40 seconds in the round, and NAF is very far ahead in the apartments. And he's going to take this contact with Snax. And if he doesn't get this pick here, if Snax gets him, or they just kind of exchange a little bit of fire and NAF has to back off, that's leaving Liquid in a very weird spot with the clock running so low, where they don't really have a whole lot of utility, they don't have a whole lot of positive space, and they have to make a decision. Is it go into A, where they know Snax is but nobody else, or do they just run back and take the risk on B? Instead, NAF does get the pick, and they go into A all in, and we'll jump back in game to see how that plays out. But I just want to point out that, like, if this pick doesn't happen, this round gets very, very weird for Team Liquid. With Snax going down, Liquid are all in on taking the A site. Unfortunately, they've run into the brick wall of M0nesy, who does take all 3 picks, leaving Ultimate on his lonesome on the lurk, forced to save. And listen, you can't account for M0nesy just being as good as he is, though it is fair to criticize that they kind of do swing M0nesy one by one. Ideally, the 2 guys who are down on lane are going to swing around the box towards Moto to try and pinch M0nesy from the side, but they all just kind of ego him straight up on site, and M0nesy's just so good that he's going to hit those shots. Now, there were also definitely some aspects to this Inferno that were straight up unlucky for Team Liquid. Like here on round 6, where they're getting ready for the full-on B push, they catch out Malbs, get him on the trade, and they're starting to push site, and Nico ends up getting NAF straight through the smoke, pretty unlucky, followed up by M0nesy taking care of Yakindar, at that point leaving Twist and Ultimate in the 4v2, which is not ideal. And G2 ended up just not letting go of that momentum. They would allow Liquid to get just 2 more rounds for the rest of the game before they won the next 7 straight going into the second half to close things out and push us on to Mirage, where Liquid hit us with the classic Uno reverse card and said, here's a blowout for you to hold as well. And I do mean these games are quite literally mirrors of each other, because Liquid was dominant on the CT side to open and then swept their T side second half to win the game. Twist went and had himself a classic Twist map, 21 kills, 15 headshots, and a 1.84 rating, though I think people are going to massively underrate the fact that Yakindar had a great map too, 14 kills, he was very good on the CT half, and JK Sex, that smile, that goddamn smile, right there with him with 14 of his own, including a very nice 4K on the second half pistol round that helped Team Liquid take that momentum and run away with it. And it's kind of weird because there weren't really a whole lot of like obvious mistakes that G2 makes. Like, yes, you could point to the fact that Snax had no kills in the first half and, you know, point and laugh, but it's not like they rely on Snax to do anything other than make calls. So really, Snax being low on the scoreboard doesn't really make a grand difference. Similar to how Liquid couldn't get through the wall of G2 on Inferno, G2 struggled to get through the wall of Liquid on Mirage, and especially on the T side, they weren't able to stop the Liquid momentum. Though that being said, it was extremely funny to listen to the crowd lose their minds when Snax got his first kill on round 15. That was a great moment, guys. And with that, let's move on and talk about Nuke. And obviously, we cannot talk about Nuke if we don't spend an inordinate amount of time talking about M0nesy, because this was a statement game from M0nesy. He is one of the best players in the world and one of the most enjoyable to watch play when he's fully activated. His whole story is just so enjoyable to watch as a fan of the game. This guy has idolized Simple the entire time he's been growing up and coming up in the scene, and as he's realized that potential and become one of the best players in the world, you see that influence, the fact that he's one of those oppers who's so meticulous and good with his rifles, good with his pistols, deadly with the op, both aggressive and sitting back when he needs to. It's just awesome the way he plays the game here. He had 20 kills through like the first 9 rounds. Like, that's insane hard carry shit. And he was looking so unstoppable that you could tell Liquid were scared. Liquid liked to play outside on Nuke. They'd like to take the outside control and bend it into A takes or go downstairs and work B. But there were rounds where they would throw all of their outside smokes and they just clear out and go elsewhere. They didn't want to challenge m0nesy. And that was the problem, because m0nesy could be in heaven, he could be in ramp, he could be right behind you. It didn't matter. He'd find a way to get in there with the big green and he'd take multi-kill after multi-kill after multi-kill. Even more so than on Inferno, Liquid simply had no answer. They had no backup plan. They had no way to even get involved. No economy for Ultimate to get an op in his hands. No chance to even get around on the board to try and build some momentum. G2 simply kept pounding and pounding and pounding. And then the chef's kiss on top, just the last bit of dirt on top of the grave, is Malbs ending in the half with an incredible ace on ramp. The lobotomizer in full effect. And just like m0nesy went on to say in his post-game interview, this is what G2 can really do. Simple Counter-Strike, and then bang everyone's head off. Like, they just, it's that simple. And that's what's so infuriating, because we all know as the viewer that we can't do that. We don't have the luxury of making Counter-Strike that simple and then just going and out aiming everybody. But G2 have the spoil of riches of all this talent that, yeah, they can just boil down Counter-Strike to its most basic elements. And when they're online and Nico and m0nesy and Malbs and Hunter are doing everything and Snacks is just there having a good time, that's when G2 can be so domineering like they were here. Honestly, at the end of the day, even though I really like Liquid and I really like Team Spirit, I can't be mad about getting G2 and NAVI in another semifinals, because every time these two teams play, it's fireworks. And keep in mind that Alexi B has not lost to G2 since 2021 when he was on OG. That's an incredible stat. And tomorrow, who knows? Is he going to break that streak? Is G2 going to overcome it? I have no idea, but it's definitely going to be an entertaining ass game. And you know that you can come to this channel some amount of hours afterwards and you can find a recap just like this one, covering that action when it's all said and done. These videos are powered by Advanced.gg. You can check the link in the description, browse their website, choose any of their excellent products, and if you decide to make a purchase, you can use my code LIONS10 at checkout for 10% off, and it lets them know I sent you their way. Thank you to Advanced.gg. One more time, shout out to Refrag as well. They've been helping me out a lot with my tutorial series, which you should go check out if you haven't already. And if you go to Refrag and you want to sign up and use their excellent service to improve your game, you can use my code LION15 to get 15% off. Thank you to Refrag. Shout out to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, and our newest member, Milan Berta, for keeping the lights on. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so at the link in the description as well. Follow me on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. I'll be streaming tonight, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All the good stuff. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.